Hello. My presentation is on the importance of physical literacy for child development, which I'll address in the context of the Vancouver Sport Strategy and Canadian Sport for Life model. For more information, you can Google the terms that are shown in blue throughout the presentation. The Vancouver Sport Strategy was approved by Council and Park Board in 2008. At the same time, an advisory body, the Vancouver Sport Network, was set up to steward its implementation. The physical literacy for all component of the strategy is what I'm going to focus on here. This is a model from Canadian Sport for Life. It's fairly complex, but I'll just say that the Vancouver Sport Strategy was the first municipal strategy based on this model. It originates in national sport policy. It's just now beginning to influence how sport is done at the community level. Over the past decade, CS4L has become a movement with a broadening pool of experts and an evolving set of best practices. On the screen is a model of how sport is envisioned by CS4L. The model is all-encompassing, engaging from the bottom to the top, from side to side, the entire populace, from the bottom to the top, everybody through their entire lifespan. So let's look at the foundational years in the model, the horizontal bands at the bottom, roughly from birth to puberty. Foundational in that this is the period when an individual builds habits and behaviors that continue throughout life, and specifically in this case acquires the skills to engage in lifelong participation in physical activity. CSF4L advances the proposition that every child is an athlete, at least potentially. It may seem like an overstatement, but really should be no more contentious than saying every child is a reader, at least potentially. Unfortunately, physical literacy is nowhere near the language literacy in terms of its reach into the population at large. 2/3 of Canadian children are not active enough for optimal development. Canadian children spend an average of 20 hours per week watching television or playing computer games outside of school. Obesity has tripled in 15 years for boys. Children and youth are 40% less active than 30 years ago. This all comes from Active Healthy Kids Canada. The costs of inactivity are enormous. Just earlier this month estimated at $6.8 billion a year in terms of the impact on the healthcare system. So the motivation here is to reverse the growing obesity trend in children, decrease the amount of screen time children are exposed to, and get kids and families moving and playing together. CS4L aims to fundamentally change how sport is done in Canada, but for this presentation, the critical shifts that are taking place and need to be advanced are the ones shown on the screen. Another important principle is that sport has to break out of its silo, don't we all, and engage with the recreation, education, and health sectors to affect positive change. That dialogue is beginning to happen in the national context. It's happening here in Vancouver through the Vancouver Sport Network and the Vancouver Active Communities Network. What does this mean in practice? Well, it means not pushing down adult forms of training and competition before children are ready. It means prioritizing skills development over competitions, and above all, it means facilitating the development of fundamental movement skills. Just like learning to read and write, children need to learn how to run, jump, throw, and catch. These are just some of the fundamental skills, and there are many more, that help children move with confidence, enjoy physical activity, and to participate in any sport and activity later in life. Park Board, along with multiple partners, schools, sport organizations, community center associations, Vancouver Sport Network, and Active Communities are working together on some pilot programs in community centers, specifically Creekside, Hillcrest, and Trout Lake. The programming includes the leadership training for staff and instructors in run, jump, throw, and fundamental movement skills. Park Board is also partnering with Vancouver School Board to introduce physical literacy to parents and children during Welcome to Kindergarten programs, and piloted at schools, this is piloted at 2 schools, staff-led run, jump, throw activities with parents and kids. At the same time, educating parents about the importance of physical literacy and activity from a young age. VSV plans to build physical literacy program into Strong Start sites in September. Also through the VSV, we're reaching out to new Canadians to introduce them to the community center system and the concepts of physical literacy. So, A lot of stuff to digest, but here's where you can go for more information. Critical terms, CS4L, VSN, you can Google those, or go to the Park Board homepage and navigate very quickly to a ton of more information. Thank you very much.